start, Chico.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, let's kick this thing off. And so, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Global Chamber AI series. I'm Jacob Dietz, your co-host for today's Globinar.
And I'm Yuka Nakasone, joining Jacob once again to explore the exciting world of AI that I love.
Yeah, and so as always, we're really thrilled to be here with all of you, and so connecting with the global chamber community from around the world. As we always say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and it's amazing to see so many familiar faces as well as some new friends joining us today, some new members, and so we'll have some time at the end to be able to shout those out and have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, and Global Chamber is such a fantastic platform for making connections and explore new opportunities. And today we are diving into a topic that transforming the business landscape, artificial intelligence as usual, but a little bit a different taste.
Yes, and so today we're working with our guests, or our guests have already, as you see on the screen, to build a strategy for our artificial intelligence, and we're calling it, as they're calling it, the House of AI. And so today we'll be exploring the crucial role of infrastructure and AI implementation, because a strong foundation is essential for any successful AI project.
Exactly. Just like building a house, that's why maybe they call it House of AI. Implementing AI requires careful planning, the right materials, and skilled team professionals. We'll be discussing how to overcome common challenges in building a solid AI infrastructure or implementation, from ensuring data security to manage scalability and performance that we want.
Yeah, and so just to sort of also set the stage of why we were all here, and the reason we're here is that's because of Global Chamber. And so give a little shout out. Global Chamber is leading the way in helping businesses navigate the AI revolution, with brilliant partnerships like the one with Thunderbird School of Management, Arizona State University, which is a leader in AI education and research. Global Chamber is providing its members with the knowledge and resources they need to succeed in this rapidly evolving field.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning from our expert speakers today and discovering how we can all build our own house of AI with confidence.
Yeah, so let's introduce our speakers. So I want to give a warm welcome to our expert presenters for today's Globinar, Chris Parise and Sarah Cornett. So Chris is the owner of Brook Trout Solutions, a technology guide firm that helps businesses navigate the complex world of AI solutions. With over a decade of experience, Chris and his team at Brook Trout Solutions prioritize customer experience and employee productivity, ensuring a strong ROI for their clients. And Sarah is the founder and CEO of SC Innovate, an AI consulting firm dedicated to guiding businesses through every step of their AI journey. Leveraging her extensive experience in the banking and technology industries, Sarah brings expertise in data analysis, modeling, and AI software delivery, including cloud computing and marketing CRM systems, among just like brilliant knowledge about AI and how to best maximize and embrace that in your daily life.
So, welcome, Chris and Sarah. We are so glad to have you join us today. Before we dive into the specific topics, I'd like to set the stage a little bit by emphasizing why this topic is so crucial in today's business landscape. As we all know, artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming industries across the globe, from automating tasks to providing valuable insight from data. AI is changing the way we work and live. Maybe you all agree. However, many businesses face significant challenges when it comes to implementing AI solutions effectively. That's the key, effectively, efficiently. That's where the concept of the house of AI comes in. Just as a strong foundation is essential for a well-built house in the real world, a robust and reliable infrastructure is really crucial for successful AI implementation. And I know it from experience. And without the right infrastructure, AI project can falter, leading to performance issues, security risks, and scalable limitations. Today, we're exploring the key considerations for building a solid AI infrastructure, including performance optimization, latency management, security measures, and scalability. Don't worry, they're going to explain you very well. We are confident that Chris and Sarah's insights will provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a strong and sustainable house of AI. If you need any explanation, please comment on the chat or just raise the hand because maybe depending on where you are in this AI journey, maybe you need a little bit more of explanation.
Yeah, and so that's how about Yuka and I take a step back, and Chris and Sarah, we're excited to hear your perspectives on building a strategy for AI. Let me open the door to the AI house and welcome you in, and the floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jacob and Yuka, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you for the Global Chamber for allowing us this platform to be able to speak with you all today. We're so excited to be here and talk to you about how to make the most out of your AI solutions. And so I'm looking around the room and I recognize many of the friendly faces here. It's really good to see you all again. And I know some of you may, already be familiar with AI. Some of you may have your own AI solutions within your business. Some of you may have started a company around AI, or maybe you're just curious and want to learn more. But I can tell you conversations about AI are widespread right now. We're reaching conversations across all industries, from small businesses to large corporations and across the globe. So we're really in an exciting time in the AI space today. There are enormous benefits of leveraging AI, and now is the time to start exploring how to use this technology to gain a competitive advantage in the market. Now, today across the globe, many businesses are at the beginning of their AI implementation. Some bigger corporations may be further along. I know I've supported numerous Fortune 500 companies with their AI implementation, but this is all really new technology for a lot of businesses. And take it from me, in my own experience, AI implementation can be incredibly challenging. You can't just plug in an AI solution and it magically just works and solves all your problems. There's a lot that goes into implementing a major AI solution that delivers real business value to your organization. And it's similar to building a house. So you have your end goal, your dream of a beautiful home with a gorgeous kitchen and living room, a nice bathroom, and a great backyard. But building your dream home doesn't just appear overnight. You have to build it. You need the right materials to build your dream home. You need the lumber to frame out your house. You need the insulation. You need the sheetrock. You need the flooring. You need tile in the bathroom. You need windows and a front door and a roof over your head. The same can be said about an AI solution. All AI solutions are nothing without accurate and reliable data. You need the proper technology and teams to support your AI solution. You need the proper governance to ensure you're implementing AI responsibly and ethically. Now, these are just a few examples of the key elements you need to successfully implement AI. But just like when you're building your dream home, you need to start with a really good, solid foundation on which your house sits on. And without that, your house could come crumbling down. The same can be said for AI solutions. When it comes to the building blocks of AI, you need to start with a really solid foundation and have the best infrastructure in place to set your AI solutions up for success within your organization. Without the right infrastructure, you could run into painful challenges when deploying AI. Let's say you're implementing an AI use case that relies on real-time data. Without the right infrastructure, you could run into costly latency issues that negatively impact the customer experience. If you're implementing an AI use case that deals with sensitive customer data, poor infrastructure could lead to data leaks or improper storage, leading you to fall out of compliance with regulations like GDPR. When implementing use cases that require reaching a wide customer base, scalability can become a key issue and challenge without a solid framework and infrastructure. And many corporations also have challenges with multi-cloud management that are complex to manage and lead to vendor lock-in. There are also high costs associated with building and maintaining high-performance infrastructure needed for AI solutions. So with these solutions, Chris will be walking you through momentarily, you'll be able to maximize your AI performance with optimal infrastructure. With the right infrastructure, you'll gain the processing power you need to train your complex models, the interconnectivity to integrate data and services from multiple sources, the flexibility to adopt new tools and technologies, data management to store and access and process vast amounts of information. You'll gain robust security that meets regulatory requirements, sustainable infrastructure, and seamless scalability of AI operations. You're also able to significantly reduce the cost of AI deployment, minimizing latency, and finally supporting AI development across the globe, which I know many of you from the Global Chamber will be really excited to hear about. So when adopting AI solutions, you need to think outside of the solution itself and understand all the components that go into setting your solution up for success within your organization. And that starts by having the right infrastructure in place. So now I'll turn it over to Chris to talk about how we can make this happen. Chris, floor is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. That was a wonderful overview, and I hope you all kind of soaked that in a little bit, as I'm going to expand a little bit more on that foundational piece here. So as with everything in the technology business, we've got acronyms, right? So I want to make sure everybody's clear on what we've got up here is infrastructure as a service and network as a service. And we'll talk a little bit about how those two work together so you can understand a little bit how the performance side is so vitally important in this whole AI landscape. So if you look at it from an overview standpoint, we've got the network as a service overview, which is basically nodes that are connected to data centers, clouds, all around the globe. And we'll expand on that a little bit more in the next slides. You've also got the cost model that we need to look at. The beauty of both of these, when you ever hear as a service, it typically is a pay as you grow model, which is fantastic because you really want to make sure you're not going out and overspending for something you can't control, you can't seem to build, you can't do it. So in the infrastructure as a service with a pay as you go model is exactly the same with the network side of it. So that brings some very good things. The other thing is it's a simplified model, believe it or not, that actually can replicate as you grow. You've built the model in there. You've got expertise on building the model with some of the partners that we have, and that model gets built out each and every time that you start to expand, either with the infrastructure side of it or with the network side of it. The users on this end of it are really your employees and your customers. So you want to look at both those elements of that and decide, how are we going to make their life better by giving them faster, more effective, accurate data. That's really the big keys for this. They also look at, and Sarah had mentioned this, global connectivity. We'll look at that in a couple slides here and show you exactly what that means. It's pretty impressive when you do it. So the integration of infrastructure as a service is really, there's platforms on top of platforms with everything. You've got your platforms for certain applications you have to run. You've got your platforms for the employees, which is mainly the SaaS applications out there, your LinkedIn, your Salesforce, whatever that may be, the CRMs. And then finally, if you look at this whole piece, it's really about a performance focus. So the ability to be able to do things in really minutes is unbelievable, how you can turn up services in many countries within minutes. So let's go on to the next slide there, Sarah. So here's what the key is. So you're going from the core to the edge. So you've got infrastructure as a service as the core inside, and that's got your compute, that's got your network, that's got your storage, and there's a lot of other services that can be built on that. Now, the other side of it, and that's where the important part comes in, are the users. The users are out there, as I said, using the applications with Microsoft, with boxes we've got there. They're connecting to services in AWS. They're connecting to services in GCP, in Azure. So everything can be can reside everywhere in the cloud, and we can still get at in no time, really. Next slide there. I will, yeah. So this is interesting. I'm gonna spend a little time here because this is really this slide right here shows you one company and their footprint. So just if you look at that, now you can start to see how this whole world is connected. So it's infrastructure as a service can be in every one of these locations. It can be connected by network as a service. The amazing thing about that is if you start to expand and you're looking at other areas to expand your network, they can turn up a 100 gig circuit in less than 1 minute. So if you look at that, you've got huge network concerns to cross all global locations. So these two services make sure that you've got the right services going to the right place and that it arrives in a time where people can react in a way that they solve problems for their customers and for their employees. Make sense? Any questions? Okay, well, we can, as I said just on that last slide, this is one provider. There's many providers that can reach, China, Southeast Asia, India, the Middle East. There's some builds being built out in Africa. So we've got, every place in the world that footprint can reach with many different vendors.
And Chris, if I could jump in real quick, I'd
Sure.
love to, see if some folks from out in the audience, like what is this image? You don't have to have a set answer or something, but like thinking about what they're talking about and looking at this map and the connectivity and thinking about potential gaps. What is this map speaking to you maybe in how you understand AI or how you think it can integrate into your business? But what are some observations that people from the audience are seeing from this map? Because this one really stood out to me. I can put on my old teacher hat and call on some folks.
I have just, I'm not from the audience, but I have a question because in the map you have like star mark to show the data center location, right? I don't see them. So where are the data centers?
The data centers are in each one of those cities that are connected by that.
Okay.
So that's what it looks like. There is also, when you look at network as a service, just as a key, they connect 930 data centers across the world and 410 cloud ramps. So it doesn't matter. You can load your data anywhere you want. You can load it in AWS. You can load it in Equinix. You can load it in digital reality, in Azure. They're all interconnected. The key is to know that all those are interconnected to each one of those data centers and each one of those cloud ramps. So it doesn't show the cloud ramps in there, but that's where a lot of the other connectivity is. And as I said, we also have the ability to reach some regions that are pretty hard to do business in, especially if you look at China and the Middle East. Those are tough places to really do business. We've got partners that are already in those locations.
Oh yeah, I see a star mark in Shanghai. True.
And I'm curious, I'm always thinking about things as like at a systemic level and or like an ecosystem level. for example, like, if you remove one organism from an ecosystem, what impact does that have on the entire system? And so, like, let's say, whether it's like a natural disaster or something happens, like, how dependent are these data? Like, is there any dependency on that connectivity? And so, like, if one area were to go down or lose connectivity, like, would that have any impact on the system as a whole, Chris?
Not as a whole. That's the beauty of how this is built out. In the old days when you had everything was centralized, you run you run the challenge of maybe that could go out, and if that goes down, everything else goes down. The ability to strategically look at a map and say, okay, we've got these areas that are this close and these areas that are far away, but you can back up and have duplicates, triplicates. With each of your databases in any one of those centers that you can get to. So, if something does go down with all the locations they have and the interconnectivity within those locations, it really, disaster recovery is really done well in these areas. So if it is, with a gigantic disaster, yeah, you could have some problems. Hopefully we don't get too many of those, but big storms, everything else, these buildings are so, they're built so well, they're so secure, they're backed up by a ton of power. It's pretty amazing what they can do. So most of the time you won't lose things and things will be seamlessly switched, but there's always the exception.
Very cool. Thank you, Chris.
You bet. You bet. Any other questions on, it is a neat map, and you really start seeing how well this is put together, because this is only one provider. There's many providers around the world that are doing the exact same thing. So there's a lot of availability out here. I think we can go to the next slide, Sarah. Okay. So just some stats, and these are just gross stats, so you can kind of see where they sit. The infrastructure of a service and the network of service, those are both going to grow double digits, year by year, reported by the CBRE real estate company. And they're growing year by year, well through 2030. So if you really look at the numbers on it, today the NAS market is at 11 billion. It's projected to go to 285 billion by 2032. The infrastructure model is at 130 billion, and it's set to grow to 700 billion in 2032. So it's growing. This is not going away. You hear it on just about everything you look at today. So really, what we're looking at with this is just a really solid, clear foundation for innovation and business growth.
So here I have a question, because when you say that the global network as a service sector is going to grow to $285 billion, right, by 2032. And what do you include in this? I mean, I understand that it includes data center, maybe service provider that is providing this network as a service. And for example, are you a provider of network as a service, or what do you have in this, like in this basket?
Well, it's really being driven. If you look at it, the infrastructure as a service is, in the old days, you had a mainframe and computers and everything else in one location. Then we got into the cloud, which allowed you to put those out over many different types of cloud centers and data centers. So the infrastructure side of it is due to the growth of AI, because with AI, you also need you have to change your environment. The speed required for the processing of AI is the difference. And I don't want to go too technical on this, but you got a graphic processor unit versus a central processing unit, which was the old computers. The only way to really run those devices and run AI well over them is through a GPU. And those are your NVIDIAs of the world, your Dell, your HP, your Microsoft, and then there's some other small carriers, but it's just growth where a lot of the applications are going to move from wherever they are today into the infrastructure as a service. And if you've got that build, then you also need the service to connect it, the network to connect it.
So what you're saying is that as businesses can do this gigantic infrastructure, rather they build the infrastructure and they rent it. That's the concept.
Correct. Yep. It's you can do either one. You can do it as a capital project. If that's the way they spend their money, you can spend it all up front and buy whatever you think you need. But most of them, what we recommend is the infrastructure as a service, so that you can just, it's just pay as you go, and you get to look at each step along the way and make sure you're doing it correctly. So you don't spend a whole bunch of money and then can't figure out how to make all this work.
And do you have an idea of what the size of the business is that needs to use this kind of services?
It just depends. It can be anywhere from a small to medium-sized business. The ones obviously that have jumped into the fray early is the enterprise customers. So they're obviously just looking at it and testing and doing everything they can. The beauty of this also is many of those providers that have infrastructure as a service and have network as a service, they're going to allow you to test, to do a proof of concept and see how well this is going to work for you, or if it isn't going to work for you. So you don't have to, there's no giant investment. You can really look at just an operational cost, and many times they're going to give you the POC for free. Some of them will charge you for it, some of them will get it for free. I did see a question I wanted to talk about earlier, and it was somebody brought up the energy side of it. And that is an issue. There is no doubt the issues of energy are being eaten up pretty hard by AI. They're getting better at it. They're finding some solutions on it, but capacity within the data centers and the energy to use those are a challenge to get things moving, no doubt.
And then there's another question by Frank that aligns with this slide. How many additional data centers do we need to reach that 285 billion in 2032?
Wow, that's a good question.
The next problem.
Yeah, that they're building them. I mean, you'd be surprised where they're building data centers. They're underwater data centers. There's all kinds of places they're trying to build out. I couldn't tell you, right now how many more that would take to get there. I think there's still, a lot of capacity in some of the, you look at AWS, you look at GCP, Google, and they got the ability to build very big data centers. And then the other the data centers that we usually work with and then connect to the AWSs of the world, they're always looking at building. They're expanding every year because the demand is there. So I can't really pinpoint a number, but this isn't going to stop.
Yeah, and if I could add in one more thought about the energy piece, and you're sort of seeing this already. One of the ideas that I had, and a thought that crossed my mind thinking about the energy crunch that these data centers and AI infrastructure, all this, creates on the system. And to me, I see this because it is such a big money maker. There's a lot of money in this industry. I see this as a catalyst towards, finding ways to bring in more alternative energy sources and finding ways to be more creative about different energy sources. And so this could be a catalyst out of necessity to power these data processing centers to move towards, more large scale alternative energy sources. And so that's, I don't have any evidence or anything to support that. That's just a thought that I
No,
had.
no, you're right. They are. I mean, they're using wind farms. They're using solar. They're doing everything they can to address the renewable energy market for sure. It's good for everybody, right? I mean, to use that. I did want to go back one more. Stephanie, you asked about where do you start on this? And I think, Sarah, do you want to take that question? Because you've got a lot more experience than I do on looking at businesses and how they should start.
Yes, and I reached out and answered Steffi's question in the chat, but just for everyone. So I always recommend, if you don't know where to start with AI, always start by identifying the problem first, like really understanding your business, understanding your pain points you have today. Is it efficiency challenges you're having? Are you looking to save some costs? Or are you looking to expand and start to offer new products and services now that we're in this sort of AI revolution? This AI, and we do call it that, an AI revolution, this new wave that we're in now. It just opens up the doors for so many new possibilities. But I always recommend by starting with your pain points and starting by identifying the problem first, and then we can go and find the best solution to help you solve your problem. But reach out to me though if you have any other questions about this. I have a full methodology of how to help guide businesses through this process and help you strategically adopt AI solutions. So if you have any more questions about this, please reach out to me after the call.
I did. I reached out to you on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Excited to talk to you and learn more about your business.
All right, thanks.
Great. We still got a couple more to go that we want to get to. So here's the kind of the big slide. And this is from a very reputable group, a research group, it's all they do. You can see where that market goes from. It's from the billions into the trillions by 2030. And that's just the growth of artificial intelligence is what they're projecting, which is, it's kind of silly to me to see, that kind of growth, but that's what they are projecting. And, who knows at this point, really.
Yeah, and I'd emphasize that too, Chris. Like this AI stuff, this is not like a trend that's going to go away tomorrow, right? Like we truly are living in a new era, a new time now with this AI technology. And so it's really important from a competitive advantage, a strategic advantage, to really start to dig in and understand this technology now. It's almost similar to when computers hit the market and the internet hit the market and we started living in a digital ecosystem now. This AI stuff is not going away tomorrow, so it's really good to get ahead of it now and understand it now so that you can better set your business up for the future.
Right. One other, if you're looking at kind of a case study and where has this already impacted certain segments of a business, one of the big ones we have already seen is in the contact center element. The contact center is, if you don't know it, it's got its own interconnections inside of that, where you're just trying to give the customer the best possible service you can, which requires escalation, which requires quick thinking. I know all of us have probably gotten mad at somebody on the phone, right? When you're calling into somebody and you either you vent, sometimes, and they need to get this fixed. So this is where we're seeing artificial intelligence will automatically start seeing that this person's getting mad, and they can elevate that into another person who's got more experience with it. It's really an interesting model, but that's really where we're seeing some things with the consumer side of things being, AI behind the scenes and not knowing it, but getting their problem solved. We got a couple more, don't we, Sarah?
Yes, we do. Sorry, I skipped ahead a little too early. There we go.
That's okay. So here's, we made a mention of Equinix. Equinix is one of the largest data center providers in the world. They're way ahead of the curve on what they're doing, and they actually did a case study just using infrastructure as a service and network as a service, and they had a pretty amazing results. They had 97% faster creation of purchase requests, which is is pretty big. And they also, I don't know how they came up with this, so don't ask me, but 175,000 hours given back to their employees. So something happened that allowed their employees to get their work done faster through AI. And it also added $7 million in cost avoidance. So those are all pretty eye-opening numbers. Any questions on that? Let's shoot to the next one there, Sarah, and see how we do. Okay, so here's a model for companies that we can help with. So if you look at, I want to go into AI, but I really, you start looking at the cost and you say, I don't know if that's something we can do or how we do it or anything. So we've taken an approach that is really looking at the performance side of it and how to build it correctly. So the first thing we look at is, what is your technology spend today? So how much are you spending on, your SaaS applications, on other cloud applications you have that have been added over the last few years? Because this has all really happened within the last 10 years. The market has really changed. So what we're seeing, if you've got the ability to go in, and we do, to go in and look at your complete technology spend, there's usually at least 10% to 40% of licenses that aren't being used, applications that aren't being used, overspend. This is all an automated system that'll go in and bring you back those type of results. So that's a technology expense piece of our business. The second piece, which is really critical for AI, is, everybody has data in their business. They have data here, they have data there, they have it on different servers, they have it in different areas. They may have 4 profiles of Jacob on there because he's gone in and bought several different things. But what has happened is there is and I hate to use a lot of acronyms, and I'll run it out, but it's called a RAG AI, and that is a retrieval augmented generation. So as an actual result, one of the companies that we work with was doing a RAG operation into Air France, and there was 3 other competitors in there. And so what they did is they ran their service. Their service came back with a accuracy score of 96%. The other providers were in the low 70%, 75%. The key element here is that your data has to be clean. AI doesn't work well with crappy data. It just doesn't. It won't work well. So that's really one of the pieces that really helps getting on the right foot on that. The second thing here is, your operational financing. We recommend that because you don't know what that end game's really going to be, but at least in an operational, you're only paying for what you use. That's a concept that is applied to both infrastructure as a service and network as a service. And then always use a proof of concept. If you've got something like the contact center type thing that we talked about earlier, that you've got 10 to 20 people answering phones and doing various things, get them in there and ask them for a proof of concept so you can validate or not validate what's happening in their environment. And then know your employees and your customers' needs. It's really the key to building that model well, both the infrastructure and the network side of it. So with a network, what you really want to do is evaluate your network where it is today, figure out if that's going to handle the workloads of AI. And if it doesn't, let's look at a network as a service. Now, there is a challenge here. The challenge comes in on building the network is that last mile of connectivity. And that's if, if your building doesn't have fiber, if your building isn't multiple connections to the internet through wireless, through cable, through fiber, you're going to have to build that infrastructure early. If it's already there, then you can take advantage of being able to turn up 100 gig circuits in under a minute to a new facility or a new geographic area to serve your customers. And then finally, both Brooktrot Solutions and SC Innovate, we represent very reputable companies. They've been in business for years. They've done this over and over again. We have escalation abilities to go right up to the top of the people and protect our customers. The thing we want to do is we want to align our customers with the right people, the right companies, and we want to see that service and support on the back end of it so that when there are issues, we can fix those issues. Are there any questions on any of that?
Can you?
There is a question earlier about that's probably tied to this, but this is in the chat. Are IaaS and NaaS focusing on model routing to address sustainability issues, or using aggregators for low complexity solutions to reduce compute costs? Might be more related to the slide a little earlier.
Well, yeah, and if I'm reading that correctly, it's this kind of gets into the technical realm of it, and there's ways to layer on security, there's ways to layer on virtual network connectivity, there's application awareness, there's all kinds of, and I don't know if I'm going down the right line, but there are all kinds of, once these connections have built, there's ways to layer on software applications that make it secure, that make it optimized, that do everything. So you have to aggregate vendors from all over the world, and they have a policy called NNI, which is net neutral integration, meaning that if Comcast is in a building and AT&T wants, has a customer in that building, they can use net neutral integration. So they can use that and aggregate to that. I don't know if that answers your question. Did you have anything further from that?
Hi. No, yeah. I was just curious about the strategies around the specific strategies around the offerings or the kind of products that you have. Do you guys have have you built in model routing or using like aggregators, for example, like platforms that allow businesses to build kind of like the less complex solutions. So instead of, for example, fine-tuning their own model or building their own language models, have you built in kind of the less complex solutions such as aggregators, and do you promote model routing as well? Basically, so each language model has its own capabilities. Are you promoting, or have you built in your strategy routing different types of tasks or builds to different models?
I'm going to take a shot at this, and I'm going to ask Sarah to take a shot at this too. Routing capabilities certainly can. Let's say you have an application that works well for your manufacturing business or whatever that business is, and that demands that quick connect. You've got to have it optimized. You've got to see it. There is certainly routing modules in each one of these network elements that can route to any one of the clouds, that can route to any one of the data centers where these applications might be. So it's all very flexible to get to something. It's almost impossible that you can't connect to some type of application out there in the cloud or in a data center. Sarah, do you want to add to that?
Yes, and definitely answering your question on the large language model side, you can absolutely figure out how to connect in with the right models and really understanding your workflow as a whole and say, maybe I want to use one specific model for this component of the workflow, right? Another one for this component of the workflow. So it's very easy to integrate and bring in the different models that you need throughout any process that you have within your workflow. And so there's really nice sandboxes and really nice areas for you to conduct your proof of concepts, and really starting small, which I always recommend with these big projects. Like, don't just jump into the deep end, but starting off really small and iterative approach, and being able to have that flexibility to pull in those models that you need and do that in the most secure fashion.
Thank you.
I like that term, that term Sarah uses, the sandbox. Just think about it. You get to go back and play in a sandbox. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's back to play. It's back to playtime. Yep. Yep. I think that's the last slide, is it not, Sarah?
I believe so. Yes.
There we are. Are there any
Well-
other questions? This has been great. We really appreciate everybody taking the time to, run through this. And if there's anything we can do to help, I know Sarah and I are kind of walk step together on building a solution that is safe, secure, well managed, and we're your advocate in this whole journey.
Awesome. And yeah, I think, I know Yuka has a question, but I just want to say thank you. That was a very in-depth and very helpful conversation, and a way to talk about something as well. I love about these series and the people we have is very complex topics, and being able to present it in a relevant and relatable way. One thing that I loved how you ended on was this idea of the sandbox and play, and that's what I think is such, it's something that we need to keep in the back of our mind when thinking about AI, and demystifying it a little bit, is like it is a place to really test your curiosity, to build things that you could only imagine of with at this type of scale. And so it's vast, and it's ever changing and ever evolving. But there should be an aspect of fun to it, and play and gamification. And so I think having that idea of a sandbox in your mind is brilliant. And so I know did you want to ask your question?
I think they already kind of answered, but for the people who are here to have a little bit more concrete idea of what Sarah and Chris are developing, what kind of use cases, concrete use cases you had with your customers? I mean, what kind of AI you implemented? Because we talked about concept of using the infrastructure and network as a service, and maybe people like to know more like specific solutions you have done.
Hey, Sarah, why don't you kind of cover that Air France thing a little bit more? Because you've had some experience in the
Yeah.
airline business, and in speaking with Dan about eye level, that might be a good one to let people know what challenges they had to get through and how they did it, and then what our services can do to help with that.
Definitely. And I'll definitely speak on my experience. I've been a part of an implementation at a Fortune 500 airline based here in the States. But as you can imagine, with an airline, right, you've got a lot of, complications with, people booking from Expedia, people have booking straight from their, their frequent flyer miles, sort of place. So you've got to understand when your customers are speaking to you and contacting you, understanding that you're talking about the same person, right? And so you can imagine from a large airline as well, we had a lot of complications with getting the right technology to talk to each other and integrate properly. That was a really big issue issue that we had there. Getting the data available that we needed for our implementation was a big challenge. I was managing a team of AI developers and data engineers. We didn't have the data we needed to be able to conduct our development work. So there's a lot of challenges there that we definitely experienced going through that implementation of not having your technology systems talking to each other and working together, the data not being synced up and flowing in as you needed to and being reliable and accurate. So that's why having that strong infrastructure and having all the systems in place ahead of time is so impactful. It's, you're trying to fly the plane and you're trying to build the plane at the same time because you don't have all those components that you need ready to be able to fly with your AI solutions. But the use case, an example of, the use case we're implementing is, imagine that heightened level of personalization you could now have with an airline. Say you've got, Yuka, you fly with our airline, you have a terrible flight experience with us, we lose your luggage, your flight's delayed, all these issues you have, right? You're a, respected customer of ours, we want to make that right to you. So we want to, meet you at your gate and say, oh my gosh, Yuka, I'm so sorry about this. We're going to give you extra miles. A lot with airlines as well. You think about this, they're connected with other groups such as hotels and rideshare programs. So say, Yuka, you land, you have this bad flight experience with us. We want to make it right to you as soon as you get off the plane. And we say, Yuka, oh my gosh, here's some miles. We're going to escort you to your vehicle, to your Uber or your Lyft. We've upgraded your car already to a black car now. Or you've got a limo waiting for you now. The hotel you're staying with us in, we've upgraded your room, and oh, here's a bottle of champagne in your room waiting for you as well.
Wow.
So that's kind of the use case, and it's the possibility, right, of having all these systems talking to each other, having real-time data, having that interconnectivity of the technology and the data all speaking to each other, and having that AI system being able to make those predictions in real time and providing you that world-class customer experience. So that's just an example of how having all these systems in place and working together in coordination can really make a massive difference in your customer experience.
Now I can understand why you talk about infrastructure as a service and work as a service. I mean, yeah, it's lots of calculation and it's lots of data, lots of everything, right? Yeah. And
The other thing I'd like to add, Sarah and I are the kind of the guides to this, right? But back behind the scenes, we have just a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience already from companies that have already done this. We're not going to bring anybody to the first dance and they haven't done anything. We just don't do that. It's not worth the risk. So the people we deal with, Sarah has teams of people that she deals with. I have teams of people that have expert knowledge in each one of these areas that we're talking about and have done it before and really can make this happen. So, we're not jumping out too far on this, but it is really a great way to start if you're looking at adding some AI applications. And we even got a few of the AI applications of our own that we could help you with.
And so, yeah, Yuka added one more question in there, and I want to get to that quickly. But also just like, is there anyone else from the audience that wants to ask any more questions? Is there anyone has any thoughts as we close up today's episode? But as people are thinking, yeah, Yuka had a great question in there about asking if they could share AI solutions other than language models. People think AI is LLMs, but there's a lot more to that, and so that can possibly be a very complex thing to talk about in 3 minutes. But is there one example or one solution that you could provide people?
Yeah, and Chris, I know we've got a lot of great partnerships as well with other just AI solution providers, right? Just AI solutions in general, but it's not just generative AI solutions. It's not just large language models. I have a ton of experience with machine learning myself, so we do look outside of not just large language models, just the generative AI solutions, but also machine learning, right? And we're continuing to grow as well with the partners that we're working with. So it could be, if you have computer vision needs or, deep learning needs, in the future, those are always things we're looking to expand and seeing what other AI solutions companies that we can get to partner with us, because, right, we're with infrastructure as service now, we're again laying the foundation for all these amazing AI applications to sit on top of and really be able to expand and maximize their performance on top of this massive infrastructure. So we're always looking for additional AI solution companies to sort of bring into our ecosystem so we can find and match with our clients the right solutions that really meet their needs. I don't know, Chris, if you want to add any other details other than that.
I think that was pretty well said. We did mention a little bit about, the main players in there, and NVIDIA is obviously top dog, but there are some competition out there that we'll be working with here in the future that basically can outperform the NVIDIA solution. So, the market is fairly open. We're always, as Sarah said, on the look to find the right people with the right experience so that we can bring that into the fold. And, we'll always be looking out for our customers' best interest.
Awesome. Yeah, so as we have 1 minute left, just want to first say thank you to everyone. Thank you, Sarah and Chris, for presenting today. It's very fascinating and very insightful conversation. And thank you to everyone as usual for attending. We have some people in here that are fresh faces, including Frank. Glad to see you here, Frank. And want to throw it to Doug. Doug, any closing words that you can provide before we shut things down for the day?
Hey, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Hey, this year started with a conversation with Shams Hadi, who is a digital expert, Zorro Sign, and now he's changed the name of his company. But he's an amazing guy, and he said, there's only one thing you need to be working on this year. It's artificial intelligence. And so thank you both to our amazing speakers. Great information, great broad strokes, and also some very specific examples of how to go about it and who might be interested in what this is for their business. Everybody should be interested in their business. So certainly one of the follow-ups that I have is, who do you want to meet going forward? Because undoubtedly you're very busy, and even more people need to hear and implement. So thank you, all of you. Thank you, Jacob, and thank you, Yuka, for facilitating this today. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll turn it back to you, Jacob.
Yeah, no, thank you. And so, Yuka, any final words? Any final words of wisdom for us?
No. Thank you very, very much for everybody for your time. And I learned again of amount of knowledge. So thank you very much. And until next time, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all. Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you, Sarah and
everybody.
Chris.
Appreciate it.
Have a great rest of your week.
Congratulations. Yeah, Sarah. It's it's been super interesting, both of you. And Chris, thank you so much. That was like so interesting and fantastically presented. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, I dropped my contact information in the chat. If you want to continue the conversation, please reach out to Chris and I. Connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to continue the conversation with you all.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you all.
So
Have a
much.
great rest of your week.
Bye-bye.
See you.